Hello YouTube. So in video 1 I talked about readily available, commercially available chargers, my little watt meter Geely XT90 connectors. Alright, in this second video we're going to get into some DIY stuff, and there's going to be a third video that's going to be about my monster charger, which I'll get to in that video. So DIY stuff. First thing I want to show you is this, and you'll notice it says Lenovo on it. This is a Lenovo laptop power supply. Notice the couple of beveled edges on it. Notice the corner that's knocked off. I'm showing you this stuff so that when you get on eBay or whatever and you find these things, you're not buying something else. You're buying the legitimate Lenovo power supply. Because the fakes, the Chinese crap is, well, it's just that. They're not any good, and I'll get to that in a minute. So you notice it says AC adapter, it says Lenovo on it. Over here in the upper right corner it says 170 watt, 20 volt. Down here in smaller text, wherever it is, there it is right there, that small text, it says, boy, it's really tiny text. It says 8.9 amps. I think that's right. It's really tiny. Anyway, I know for a fact that I can get almost 10 amps out of these things before they go into current overload and shut off. They also have thermal overload protection in them, so that if they get too hot, they'll shut off. There's the AC side. Here's the DC side. Comes with this round plug on it. Okay. These things, because they are electrically isolated, AC input to DC output, you can plug the AC sides in parallel with each other, and the DC side in series. So as long as you can deal with 20 volt increments, you can go 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, whatever you want. For these in series on the output side makes a pretty nice 82 volt charger, because well, they protect themselves internally, and they're electrically isolated DC side to AC side. So no problems. That works super well. Okay, next one I want to show you is this guy. So this is an HP power supply, and this is 230 watts. So those Lenovos, I bought them on eBay for 16 bucks a piece, and they are super abundant. If you go on eBay any day of the year, you will find those Lenovos. Just get on eBay and search for Lenovo 170 watt PSU, and you'll find them. No problem. And then, buy them for the lowest price you can get, because there's no point. They are virtually indestructible. You can't blow them up. They're completely protected. And the same is true for these HPs, which are a bit bigger. So you can see it's a fair bit bigger. But this is 170 watts. This is 230 watts. So, they say, whatever it is, 8.9 amps. And this thing, again in the very small print, but it says 11.8 amps and 230 watts. HP logo, says V85 on it. A bigger brick, but it's also, considerably more current. Okay, so I'm going to show you, or talk about a little bit about the internals of these things. These are switching power supplies, and as all switching power supplies is the case, they're all capable of being adjusted. So the output voltage can adjust in some range. Like I already talked about those things. Those are switching power supplies. That's all they really are. And they can have their output voltage adjusted. These can too. It's just that from the factory they're set to 20 volts. But you take them apart and you know what to look for, and there's a couple small, very inexpensive components inside, resistors, and the values of those resistors are what set these things to 20 volts. So anyway, if I were to adjust the voltage output, which I want to do, because I'll talk about that in a second, right now I can only work with 20 volt increments, but let's say I wanted to make a 66 volt charger. Well, 20 volts times 3 is 60 volts. That's not full charge. I want 66 volts. So I really want to adjust these things up to 22 volts, right? And they can be adjusted up. You just got to know what to do. All right, the Lenovo power supplies are an enormous pain in the ass to get inside of. The cover, it's got 4 screws in the corner, so you take those out and the cover comes off super easy. But it's getting past that. That's the problem. They have several layers of shielding inside, and they are spot welded, soldered, and thermally glued together. So once you get all those shielding layers apart, then the whole entire underside of the board is almost 100% covered in thermal glue. So you've got to pick all that off to finally get to the circuit board underneath, so you can change out the resistor values to adjust the output voltage. About an hour after you start, you finally get to that point. HP power supplies, these guys, on the other hand, they do have that shielding on them, but the two outer layers of shielding are taped together. And then the inner one, it's held on with 2 solder tabs, a small blob of thermal glue, and a piece of tape. So it comes off in a minute. You know, a little bit longer than that because you got to unsolder a couple things and so on. But getting inside the HP power supplies down to the circuit board so you can adjust those resistor values to adjust its voltage is way easier. So yeah, I would say $23 versus $16. I'm going to buy these every time just because I want to have the ability to adjust the output voltage, possibly. You know, if 20 volt increments isn't enough. All right, so you've seen those. Now let's show you something that's real. So here you go. That's 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And here's the AC side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Follow that cord. Follow that cord. Goes right up to the outlet. So right here in this lump, the AC cords are all soldered together in parallel. So AC side, that's all in parallel. Here's the DC side. And get that junk out of the way. So there you go. There's the DC side. Comes up to this lump right here. And that's 20 volts, plus 20 volts, plus 20 volts, plus 20 volts. The outputs are all in series. This is powered up. So I'll plugged into the wall. Hit the button. Here you go. 81.98 volts. That's close enough to 82 volts. I don't care. And the outputs are all in series. And the inputs, AC side, is all in parallel. So DC in series, AC in parallel. And because from here to here, it is 100% electrically isolated from each other, you get no flames, no sparks, none of that kind of stuff. If they weren't electrically isolated, like a lot of the Chinese cheapy ones are, there's a big reason why I showed you the legitimate HP and Lenovo power supplies. You know, showed you the labels, the outside of the cases and things like that. Well, I guess I missed that. So on the HP, so you got the cord right there. Other side, you got this 3-prong. Showed you the labels. I showed you that stuff on purpose so that you would not be deceived in what you bought. You would buy the legitimate HP or Lenovo power supplies so that you are going to get electrically isolated power supplies. If you don't, and you start doing what I do here, ACs in parallels, DCs in series, you'll blow stuff up. Smoke, flames, all that kind of stuff. Like this, you can see it's live. Look, 82 volts, almost, 81.95 volts, close enough. That's proof positive this is doing exactly what I'm saying it's doing. In parallel, in series, 82 volts. Totally is doable. I have been using this as a charger for 82 volts for about 2 years. I have built another one of these things. My first one was with the smaller, lower wattage power supplies from Lenovo. What are they? 90 watts, I think. So that was my first one I built. And I used that one for about 6 months. And a friend came over. He goes, "Dude, what is that thing?" And I went, "Oh man, it's just a bunch of Lenovo power supplies in series, getting me 82 volts." He goes, "I need that. Can I buy it from you?" So I sold it to him right there for whatever, $50. Since then, this is the third of the 170 watt versions I've built. And the other two, I built them for a couple of friends. One's in the UK, another one's in New York. Shipped them off, and they've been using them for years. Super reliable, works really well, thermally protected, electrically isolated, overload protected, so on and so forth. I've said it. Makes a great charger as long as you can deal with those 20 volt increments, for the Lenovos. Or these ones you can get inside them, these HPs, the 230 watts. You can get inside those. You can adjust those resistor values, and then you can adjust the output voltage up and down a little. Anyway, I haven't done it yet on these ones, but I'm about to. Okay, so that is video. Well, I want to talk about one other thing here. So you'll notice that this has got a watt meter on the output of it. And, you know, I've now moved to this. So this is the last charger, and this is about 2 years old, you know, since I put it together like this. This is the last charger I put a watt meter on it. And of course it's got an XT90 connector. Everything else since then, I'm all doing this. So, you know, every charger I build ever since, you know, I'm just going to stick that watt meter on that. Or, well, I will up to a point, which I'll talk to in my next video. So anyway, those are some very, very inexpensive DIY chargers. So about 10 amps, a little bit less, about 9.8 amps out of these ones. And I know that for a fact because I've been running it there for a couple of years. These guys right here, so they say 11.8 amps, but I'll bet you anything it'll be 12, 12.5 amps, maybe 13 amps that I'll pull out of these things, but it'll be the same thing. Thermally protected, current overload protected, totally isolated electrically input to output off these HP power supplies. But that'll make an inexpensive 12.5, 13 amp charger. And like those guys, you know, the Big Brother that's 10 amps, well, those were 75 bucks a pop. And these guys, I'm going to get, you know, 12, 13 amps out of them for, you know, basically whatever it is, 90 bucks. Yeah. And it's quiet, no fans. Yeah, that's super good. All right. So folks, I'm going to do another video, and that's going to be my monster charger. So that's enough for this one.